Yes. What's going on? It's Dicey World again. What's happening, y'all? For this beautiful Monday, June 12th, 2023. Hope everybody's good. If you're living in the East Coast like me, the air quality is doing better. It's not really sunny right now, but it's definitely better than it was last week. But I'll get into that in a moment. Last time I saw you guys, I think it was a couple of days before my birthday, or maybe the day before my birthday. Anyway, I'm here. Thank God for another one. Had a great birthday. People asked me what I did, what were the highlights. There were no highlights. I mean, thank God I'm still here. But kids, don't get old, man. It's a trap, guys. It's a trap. As soon as you turn a certain age, I mean, like the elders, like the old folks told you, man, changes in your body will happen. And I'm still fairly decent, fairly healthy. But shout out to my physician, Dr. Ann Park, Asian American woman. She kind of broke my heart. Basically, I need to cut off. She told me I need to cut off on my starches, carbohydrates, breads, and sugars. I said bread and sugar. She even said fruit too, guys. Fruit. I thought, NutraSweet was good. I thought that fruit was nature's natural candy. You feel what I'm saying? So when she told me I need to replace all that or stop eating it, and I said, "Well, doc, what can I replace the snacks with? Cookies and milk at nighttime, my gushers, my strawberry straws, my chips and everything. How can I replace that?" She looked at my eyes and said, "Who said you need snack? Who said you need snack?" So I guess it's a wrap. I had a good run though, guys. 40 plus years eating snacks, popcorn and Twizzlers for dinner. You know what I'm saying? I had a good run, but now I have to make that change, man. So I'm definitely here to promote a healthy lifestyle, mentally, physically, and spiritually. My uncle, shout out Uncle Jay, Uncle Jerome. He challenged me to read the book of John because I told him, I said, you know what, Unc, you know, because my mom always say, Mikey, get into your word. You gotta get into your word. Like you could be baptized, saved, not commit felons and crimes, but if you're not in your word, mama said you going to hell, or she make you feel like you're going to hell. That's how I be feeling. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had a good day. If I don't include I read the Bible, I feel like my soul about to eternally burn. And it may. So, thanks for the tough love, ma. It may if I don't read the word, rather, you know what I'm saying, no matter what you do or how good you are. But I told my mom, I said, just, direct me towards the scriptures that mention the Lord and Savior, Jesus, or talking about what Jesus did. Let me just focus on that. But then my uncle told me, start reading the book of John. He said, read it for like a month. He said it will change your life, man. So I'm trying to do that right now, guys, trying to read the book of John. So that's my take for my birthday. And I did just mention air quality too. So if you're living in the East Coast, shit, even the Midwest, I heard Detroit got it, and DC as well, further down the East Coast. But allegedly, some East Canadian forest fires, like the smoke, man, it permeated and just flew off, in the air to New York. And I believe at one point New York had the worst air quality in the world. In the world, they said if you were exposed to that air, for like 24 hours, that's like the equivalent of smoking a pack of cigarettes, a pack of squares. So if you didn't have Newport money that day, just go outside and inhale the air. You'd have been straight, man. But that's crazy though. And just as somebody who lived here, who lives in the East Coast in Jersey, I'm not gonna lie. It looked like a scene from Mad Max or the Terminator, the Apocalypse. I'm talking about. It looked like a camera filter, like an Instagram filter. The skies were definitely orange and yellow. Uh, it smelled like burning wood. When I walked outside, it definitely felt like I was at a campfire. So, that was crazy, man. But, we eventually got better. And that happened like Thursday or Friday. And I'm glad, it subsided. Shout out to my homeboy, Dwayne King Thomas, aka Trend, aka Muscle in the Marathon. For all you wondering who that guy was on my website or on my Instagram page. People like, yeah, I'm Dice. What you doing? Posting muscle bound men on your page, man. I ain't trying to see that. That's my man Dwayne K. Trini, Thomas, him and his beautiful wife Mary. They're in business together, man, and they all about the health and wellness and fitness and whatnot. So they hosted a boot camp and brunch in Brooklyn. Nice be alliteration. It was good. It happened this Saturday. I'm glad, the air was good. It was a good situation. So they did their thing. So I'm glad the air was good by this past weekend so they could successfully have their boot camp and breakfast or brunch. Shout out to them. But let's get into it, shall we, guys? What do I want to talk about today? Well, first and foremost, like I always tell you guys before every show, you can check me out on Twitter at DiceyW0RLD or Instagram, the gram, DiceyW0RLD.C0M, Dicey World in the house. But today's Monday, game 5 of the finals. Denver is up 3-1. Only a handful of teams have ever come back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA playoffs most recently, and maybe only one in the finals most recently. Those Cleveland Cavaliers over the Golden State Warriors in 2016. Cleveland, this is for you. Yo, shout out 2016, man. That's one of the most tumultuous, just crazy, pivotal times, and not only in my life, but I know it's in a lot of people's lives, though, for a bevy of reasons. But that's the last time it happened, overcoming 3-1 deficit, man. But unlike, that 2016 Cleveland team, I mean, shout out Jimmy Butler, but they don't have a Kyrie Irving on their team. They don't have a LeBron James on their team. And let's just keep it real. It's only so long that a team with 7 undrafted players can take you. Miami was an 8th seed. I feel like they overachieved. But right now, it appears that they're running out of gas. I mean, people want to say, oh, it's the lack of effort. It's not a lack of effort. I mean, Denver is big and athletic and wiry, and they're deep. They have a lot of depth. Conversely, Miami, they're a little smaller. If they're not making 3-point shots, they're gonna have a tough day ahead of them, a tough game. They have a lot of players injured, key pivotal role players like Victor Oladipo, who sustained a very devastating knee injury prior to the playoffs. Looked like a torn ACL. Prayers up to that man. They lost Tyler Hero, their young, up-and-coming shooter, 3-point threat, So they're plugging in players right now that really didn't get any playing time throughout, different spurts of the season or points of the season. But one thing about Miami, and I said it before, I love their culture. They're not going to complain. They're not going to cry about it. They're just going to be professional and remain ready. And shout out Duncan Robinson. He got that big contract a couple of years, but he's been like flying underneath the radar subsequently ever since then. But he's been playing well. Max Strus's been playing well, but right now they're just running out of gas, guys. And Denver is just a better team. Shout out to Spo, but I like Michael Malone too. He definitely has championship pedigree in his blood. His dad, Mike Malone, was a championship winning assistant coach for my Detroit Pistons in the bad boy era. So he's been around the culture. He's been around the basketball his whole life, observing and learning from a top tier level from early. Jokic, he's the best player in the world by far. I mean, he's looking like, man, they need to go to Joel Embiid's house and, get his MVP back. Because in the way that Joel Embiid went out sad in the playoffs, you can say he injured or whatever you want to say, man. He did not play like an MVP. And Jokic is out here looking like, okay, y'all don't want to give me the MVP. I'm going to show y'all who the best player in the world is. Kind of like, Akeem did to David Robinson back in the 90s. What Michael Jordan did to Karl Malone in the late 90s. But like I said before in a couple podcasts ago, I really feel like, the that Jokic, the Joker, is imitating Giannis from a couple of years ago. Remember when Giannis won the MVP 2 years in a row, but his team got bounced out early in the playoffs, and then that third year he didn't get the MVP, but he got the championship and the Finals MVP. That's why I think Jokic is on. He solidified himself individually as a great, spectacular talent, as evidenced with the back-to-back MVPs. And now this third year, he just wants blood, man. He wants the MVP. In Denver, they're playing so intelligently well together. They just, they're connected. They have great chemistry. They play smart. They cut. You can tell that they have that experience of playing well together. Jamal Murray and Jokic looking like Kobe and Shaq right now. No blasphemy, but I'll be really surprised if this time next week I get on the podcast and Denver's not the NBA champion. I would love for the series to go 7 games, to finish out on Father's Day. Who doesn't love an NBA playoff game on the holiday? Most recently, Memorial Day, we saw the Miami Heat beat, Boston in Boston, Game 7. That was spectacular, but I don't think it's going to last that long. I think we're going to be done today, Monday, man. 5 games, gentlemen sweep. So, yeah. Moving right along, but staying in basketball, shout out to my man Monty Williams. Again, I said this a couple of podcasts ago. I said, if there's any way that my Detroit Pistons can get a hold of Monty Williams, that will be a win for us. I told you guys he has a nice prior relationship with our GM. What's his name? Troy Weaver in OKC. And his track record suggests that wherever Monty goes, he's a culture changer. He's going to change the culture, and he's going to instill confidence in his players. And he's a great developmental player. He's great in player development. He develops his players very well. We saw it in New Orleans with the New Orleans Pelicans. Nobody expected anything from them prior to Monty's arrival. He got to New Orleans, turned them to like a 45, 50 game win team. And this is right after, they were displaced, or had to relocate from New Orleans, for Hurricane Katrina. So matter of fact, I think he coached them from New Orleans and then OKC, the OKC Pelicans. And that's what, and because they did so well, that's what gave, OKC the momentum to receive the Supersonics over to OKC and turn to the Thunder. But all that to say is that Monty Williams changed that program around. We see what he did in Phoenix. Nobody was checking for Phoenix. He got the job, went to the bubble. I think the Suns were 8-0 during the bubble. And then that next year, you saw him win 50, 60 games, get to the NBA Finals, lost to the aforementioned Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis in the finals, but they did well. Had his teams in contention to win. And those were veteran teams he had. I'm very curious to see what he's going to do with my Detroit Pistons, with Jaden Ivey, with Cade Cunningham, Marvin Bagley, what's my man's name from Golden State that we got? James Wiseman. And I like where we at right now. We got the number 5 pick in the draft right now. Yes, we had the worst record in the league. Yes, I wish we could have got Wemby, but we didn't. And so the number 5 pick, I feel like that would be the equivalent of getting a good, free agent to complement the pieces we have. So instead of going out and paying free agent prices, we just theoretically drafted, or we're going to draft our our role player and complementary player with that number 5 selection. So I'm definitely feeling Monty Williams with the Detroit Pistons. I mean, yeah, people are criticizing that bag, $78 million for 6 years. But, who's coming to Detroit? Who was our last big name free agent? If you look at all the dope players we ever had in Detroit, we always, drafted them, from Isaiah Thomas to Grant Hill, and hopefully now Cade Cunningham. So you got to make those concessions, unfortunately in Detroit, but I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's moving on down the list. Skip and Shannon disputed a word on the street that Shannon, Uncle Shannon, Uncle Shay Shay, he's going to leave FS1 and Skip Bayless after the finals for a number of reasons. Reasons I don't have in front of me, but I feel like, I believe some of the reasons listed by Shannon were that he didn't have enough creative control for the topic discussing the topics. Uh, Shannon loved him some LeBron James, and Skip is the eternal LeBron hater. And I think, lastly, the straw that broke the camel's back is when, I guess the Darvin Hamlin tweets by Skip, and I feel like Shannon thought it was very insensitive. So you already got Stephen A. talking about, hey, come join the gang, man. He doing his best, not his best, but essentially doing this Suge Knight. You sick of your producers dancing the videos? Come join Death Row. So I guess he tired of Skip dancing on videos. I used to love Skip. I don't know about FS1 Undisputed Skip, but I know on ESPN, I loved ESPN Skip. I might not have always agreed with him, but at least with Skip, you always knew where he stood, for better or for worse. And from all the clips and highlights I get from seeing the FS1 Skip, he seems to be more censored into shock jock and just getting that shock value. Come on, Skip, you better than that. But I'm interested to see where Uncle Shay Shay lands. Does he go to ESPN and join First Take? I don't know. That might be too all black for ESPN. They always got to have a nice little Skip Bayless or Max Kellerman counterpart for Stephen A. But it's going to be interesting to see. So we shall see. All right, moving on from sports. Recently, I heard the news that Dr. Cornel West is running for president. Look, man, I'm not going to publicly, air this man out. You know how I feel. Yeah, so I don't believe in, publicly disparaging or knocking the black man, any man, but especially black man publicly. So I'll reserve any criticism to myself. But what I will say is, maybe this is like a lifelong goal on the bucket list that he wanted to accomplish, or maybe he wants to stay creatively active. I have no idea. I got the Dry Ass podcast. It's a passion project for me. It's a hobby, So whatever you got to do to keep it moving, Dr. Cornel West, do your thing. But personally, I don't think he's gonna be too successful. If I was a betting man, I would say he would not be elected president. But who am I to say? Apple, they just came out with this iPhone Pro sunglass virtual reality headset, $3,500, man. Look, I'm not gonna pretend and begin to sound like I'm tech savvy, is it worth it, and so forth. But all I know is for $3,500, I better get Kelly LeBrock, because this sounds like some real weird science right here. For all you young millennials and Gen Z people, that's like an old movie about these two nerds who made up a sexy babe with their computer, man. So $3,500 for some virtual reality, like I said, it better come with Kelly LeBrock. No cap. What else have I been doing? Oh yeah, I watched the Dear Mama documentary in its entirety on Hulu. It was really good, guys. Initially came on FX, but now it's on Hulu. I think a 4-part series. It's Alan Hughes. He definitely did his thing. Not mad at him for that. Beautifully done. If you're a real Pac fan like me, then you've seen over 98.5% of the footage that was on there. There's not too much stuff of Tupac I haven't seen, but what I will say, I love the way they presented the content aesthetically, optics wise. It just seemed more in the HD. I feel like Pac was right next to him. He can come out the screen. It looked really surreal. So I will give him props for that. But I wanted to shout out Afeni Shakur. People forget, during the time where Tupac was being cultivated in prison when he was a little embryo and little baby in mama's stomach, Afeni was in jail and she was fighting for her life, like a life sentence. And she represented herself as her own lawyer, in the 60s or in the 70s as a Black Panther. Like, she killed him, man. Like, I definitely encourage you to watch that. That's so inspiring and so encouraging. Like, she had them people flustered. I mean, you know, professionally expert people. Like, she had no uh, judicial or law school background. Her life was on the line. She pregnant, and she got off, man. So if that's not motivational, I don't know what is. You feel me? Well, let me tell you what's not motivational. Lastly, I've been noticing a lot of 40-year-old beef, man. Like, yeah, old people, man, because I'm old, 40 and up. That's the line. You 40 and up, you old, unfortunately. We gotta stop this, man. Like, yeah, these young kids, they'll shoot your ass in a heartbeat, but I feel like they more mature than us, man. Unfortunately, when it comes to certain things, like these young kids, they not going back and forth. They clapping shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't advise that, but they not sounding emotional and sensitive. They just clapping shit. They shooting shit. They smoking shit up. Again, I'm not advising that, but we gotta do better as older people, man. And we can't be setting examples or bad examples of going back and forth and just looking really bad and just sounding delusional. Now, this Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan beef is still going on. It's still going on. And Scottie saying some things that's really MJ Michael Jordan slander. And if anybody should know better, is you. You played side by side with this man for 10 years, talking about he was a horrible player before Scottie Pippen got to the Bulls and LeBron's the best player, and that's a fact and everything. Look, man, like I said, I'm not trying to disparage any Black man publicly, but Cameron said it, though, and you can read between the lines. This has nothing to do with basketball. It has a lot to do with what's going on behind the scenes in their public lives. I'm sorry, their private lives. And really, it's not that public, but you know what's going on. Then you got DJ Envy and Rick Ross beefing, going back and forth. At first, it was funny, but then it started getting a little personal, man. About a damn car show. Like, y'all too grown for this, man. Y'all definitely too grown for this. Cut it out. Knock it off. But anyway, guys, that's my time. It's been like 23 and a half minutes, 24 minutes. Thanks for listening once again. Go ahead, check out the website. Go to my YouTube page. Check me out on the social medias. Same thing for YouTube. Like, subscribe, leave a comment for your boy, DiceyWorld. And until next time, remember, boys and girls, anything can happen in DiceyWorld. Y'all stay safe out there in a minute. Peace.